Welcome to the Higher Self Podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to help you unravel anything keeping you from a life of true abundance, joy, and happiness, which is your birthright. Each week, we'll bring in different guests specifically tailored to help you on your journey to discovering your higher self. Whether it's spirituality, business, finances, health, or relationships, there are no topics that are off limits. So get ready and enjoy this week's episode on the higher self. Healing after heartbreak. Man, it's rough. And yet that is the focus of conversation on this week's episode of the higher self, which I have the honor and the privilege. I actually want to show you a picture real fast. My very first journey with ayahuasca. I took this picture. As you can see, I was still wearing the sunglasses. I showed up with my Louis Vuitton bag, and I left a completely different human being after meeting Mother Aya and meeting my brother, Tim Sae Koo. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here. Did some things to make it out here, and I'm really, really honored to. I know we actually tried this recorded once already, and I asked actually to not use it and come back again and re-record this because I felt like this relationship that we've cultivated, there's so much more that we can discuss about from the heart. And so that's why I'm here again, to really give it my heart here with you, talk about repurposing heartbreak, healing from that. Obviously, love to chat a little bit about our time in your first ayahuasca experience that we had the pleasure and honor to share with. So I'm very excited. Thank you for having me, and it feels like home to be talking with a brother like you here today.
Thank you, man. And I want to say something, and this is, for all of you listeners, we truly live or do our best to live in integrity with what we do here. And, there are some people that have come and recorded episodes that were like, Casper and I are like, nope, this one ain't going to make it. But to hear someone, I think this speaks volumes of who you are as a human being and your commitment to the work that you do. We went through a full recording, an hour of conversation, which I thought was wonderful. And you after a couple of days called and said like, no, there's more. There's more.
And I want to speak to that real quickly because I had the pleasure of sitting with Grandmother Aya actually a few days after we recorded.
That's right.
And the message came clear that my word of this year was to unleash. And I realized that I was still holding back in our last conversation. So today's intention is also to unleash the truths, the wisdom, the learnings that I've received from this medicine work and be of service to this beautiful gift that this medicine gives for all those who are listening today.
Yeah. I want to preface this conversation by saying that for many of you that are listening, I want to remind you all, I want to ask you all, if you've gotten any value from this, from these episodes or from any of our work, to hang with us through this conversation. Because depending on where you are in your journey in life, you may be like me when you hear of things like, ayahuasca or plant medicine. And I was that guy. I was the guy that said it's evil. I was the guy that said it's, the devil. I was the guy that would speak badly about. And yet, hopefully what you're feeling energetically between the two of us is some sort of calmness or resonance of truth. And we're going to be talking about heartbreak and how to heal from that in a moment. But where I want to start, Tim, is I want to start in asking you, many people don't know this about you, but you were a successful entrepreneur. You were doing well financially. And something happened that brought you to want to sit with this powerful medicine called ayahuasca. Take me back. What was that like for you?
Yeah. So I say that my original career was going to go into the world of politics, aspiring to be one of the first Asian American president of the United States. I still have that opportunity.
I was going to be the first Hispanic president.
There we go. That's why we relate.
That's why, yeah.
As I grew up, I realized a lot of the inefficiencies and bureaucracy that I was just tired of. So I thought, what's the next best path to explore? And that was the world of entrepreneurship. I started my company right after my undergrad in college, and started pursuing it. And we figured something out where it started taking off the company. And in the early stage of that, I was introduced to my first psychedelic, which was LSD. And long story short, for that, that opened the doors of perception and the doors that I didn't know existed in my mind. And so that led me to deeply explore that more on a solo basis in the outskirts of San Francisco during my startup days, kind of playing that archetype as well. What came through though was as I went through more of these journeys by myself, that I was misaligned with the business I was creating. Like something in me was bored. Something in me was questioning why I was doing all that. And as I went through my journeys with LSD, what I realized was that I had started the company out of ego, lack of self-worth. I grew up with a single mother, so I always felt a little outcasted and maybe needed to prove myself a little bit more. So a CEO title felt great, right? And so as I started unraveling that, I was like, oh man, I found something that works really well, but I'm just misaligned. And that whole story of that startup was really understanding the feeling of misalignment. And so in 2018, I decided to sell the company after I received a very beautiful vision from Grandmother Aya. This was my second ceremony ever, where I asked, I know this is not right for me, but what is? What is my purpose of service in this lifetime? And long story short there, I was in prayer pose with my forehead on the ground, deep in ceremony, asking like, please show me what it is I'm actually supposed to be creating in this lifetime. And what I saw was the veil or the curtain drawback looked like a movie where I was walking on a mountain with the ocean in the back, tall yellow grass, walking through the fields, and with a few people. And I asked the medicine, I was like, what am I here for? What is this? And in summary, what I received was that you are going to take everything you've learned in your misaligned business and you're going to pour it into what is called an alternative healing campus. For people who may be in the Western world that's trying everything and just can't break through, you're going to now pour your work and heart into this. And this isn't just going to be a one lifetime's worth of work. This is going to be a 2 lifetimes worth of work. And then when I received that, I was just like jaw dropped. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy, because I thought I was just going to play the game again in the tech world, right? I figured out the formula. I might as well rerun it again and make more money and do all that. So this was a very humbling vision that I got. And so that ultimately took me to have the confidence to let go of my business, sell it, and start a beautiful, powerful journey of remembering what I am here to do in this lifetime.
I love that. And, you know, again, it speaks so much to, I think, your integrity with your life's purpose, but that showed up not only in the recording of the podcast, but to know, right? To know that we live in a world where so many of us are driven just by, you know, money and success and, you know, outer validation. To know that you created a plan, that plan was executed, you created a profitable enterprise, that business was sold, and to know that you could essentially rinse and repeat as many times as you want, and yet to be called to something deeper, right? And for you to listen to the calling, because there's 2 different things. I've sat with the medicine so many times, and I've been around so many people where they get messages from the medicine, and the message is one thing. For you to listen to the
Right.
message, that's a whole nother ball
That's
game.
correct.
And for a lot of people, they're afraid to listen to the messages that they get, because it means that parts of them have to die. You know, that part of you that wanted to be known as that like powerful CEO, which was really that part of you that as a little boy was seeking validation and love, you know, he had to go. He had to go and he had to start to trust, right? What was that like for you?
Man, I remembered when I received that vision, I was so humbled by it because I was told this is 2 lifetimes worth of work. I didn't even know if I'm in my first lifetime or the second lifetime. I didn't know. And I remember making the promise to myself. I said, I got the message. I got it loud and clear. And I don't know how this is going to happen, but I'm going to trust and I'm going to surrender and see what happens. All I know I can do, what's in my control, is talk about it with people and see what emerges. And slowly but surely, as I started talking to people, it all the signs started leading the opportunities to be birthed for that opportunity to come alive. I will say that ayahuasca, they say that ayahuasca doesn't just make you a better person, it makes you want to be a better person. So that reminds us and me that there is the choice, the courage to step into the messages that are given. And I remembered I had to really ask myself, do I have the courage to step into this crazy vision that I have no idea how to manifest or execute on? Because this is a whole different play from the tech world that I was in. But I said, if this was divinely and spiritually and universally guided, what I can do is, at the very least, is to show up and take each step forward and forward. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but fast forward to today, around 5 years later, I am living that dream right now. And I've had to make a lot of interesting and yet tough decisions to stay committed to that vision and that commitment of a spiritual message that was given to me.
I love that. I want to go a little bit deeper in your work with the medicine, because and I want to just talk about the medicine. I want to talk about, ayahuasca and psilocybin mushrooms, which for me are the two medicines that absolutely changed my life. And again, I want you to stay with us here, but I don't know how to express this other than to tell you, every message you receive from me, every podcast interview, the love of my life that I attracted, every seminar that you attend with me, every quote that you see me write, none of it, absolutely none of it would be here without my working with the medicine. I can legitimately say that I am living my true purpose in life only because I had the courage to not listen to what others thought about this sacred medicine, but to listen to my heart and soul calling me, asking me, and guiding me to it, because I needed it. Is that to say that you can't live out your life's true purpose without the medicine? That is not. No, that was my path. And so I want to ask you, you've sat with ayahuasca in like how many ceremonies now?
100 plus.
100 plus, easy. Yeah. First things first, let's get this one out of the way. You're still alive.
I'm still alive. I hope I look sane, centered,
You're
grounded.
Not a crazy. You're not a weirdo, are you?
I'm not a hippie dippy bye person.
So
I'm here.
You're here.
Yeah.
And you are an actual human being that actually made a business, that exited a business, and that now is doing this work where you are holding space for other people to sit with the medicine. Right. In many ways, the same way I do, just that is your sole focus, right? And so my first question is what in your experience leads people to a place where they finally say, I need this medicine?
Yeah. I've been able to sit with this medicine quite a few times, and with a lot of people guiding them through this process. And typically it starts with something is not right in life. And right can be defined in many different ways. Something's lacking of fulfillment. Something is completely veering off the other way when one may have thought that it should have been this way, right? A lot of the conditioning and programming of how we're growing up, and saying that once we achieve this, the fulfillment and happiness should come. When we hit that and fall short of that fulfillment, that's when a lot of the spark begins, especially with the people I've been able to work with. And that could result in both professionally, something in their career is stagnant, and that's something kind of what happened with me. Perhaps in a relationship where you thought, this was the love of your life, and then all of a sudden it went the other way. And so basically think of it like a hero's journey as well, where we think we're going down this path and all is nice and rainbows and unicorns until something veers off. And that veering off and that feeling of like, oh, something is off, something doesn't feel right, is the beginning of that hero's journey, because that's the call that spurs this intrigue to explore let's call it healing art modalities, whether that's yoga, breath work, meditation. And some may want to go a little bit deeper, or let's say even deeper and more accelerated with the work of plant medicine.
And that's the way I look at it. It's funny you say that, because we were talking about, obviously we're recording this a day before Awaken. And so you're here to like hang out, watch Awaken, you're my brother, obviously. But we were talking about it, and I was talking about Awaken, and when I said it's like the medicine without the medicine,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there are so many healing modalities. If you're out there listening, whenever you ask me, okay, like, how do I start? How do I heal? It could be as basic as go sit in grass and connect with Mother Nature. Like just go do that. Because so often as human beings, you have to remember, before there were buildings, before there was television, before there was clothes, this is who we were. We were just naked human beings running around, and in communion and in unity with each other, with the animals, and with Mother Nature. That's
Exactly.
heaven on earth, by the way, right
Exactly.
there, is if we can get back to that space. And then little by little, the mind of man started to create ways to separate us all, and to separate us all from love. And so the first thing you can do to start your healing journey is to just go reconnect with Mother Nature. And then second, like, go reconnect with yourself. And how do you do that? You do that through conscious breathing. You do that through meditation. You do that through the beautiful practice of yoga, which helps you to really connect with your mind, body, heart, and soul. You may do that by coming to an event like Awaken, and where we get to do all of that together as one big family. And then there's that next level, right? Which you don't have to go to, but you feel called to once you want more. And that's where the plant medicine comes in. Would you agree?
Yeah, I see it like this whole medicine journey, and from my teachers have said, it's a journey of remembering. And so the conditioning and the programming and the ways we were raised have created blockages to remember these deep inner truths. And so, yes, meditation and breath work and yoga are powerful ways to start to chip away at it. I liken the analogy of like meditation versus plant medicine. They're both going to take you to this destination of, let's call it enlightenment, for lack of a better word. One is just much quicker. The plant medicine path is much quicker, but that also comes with its consequences, that if you're not careful in the wrong setting, in a not safe setting, it could veer you off not in a great way. While the meditation is kind of like taking a stroll and walking towards that place. And so it's a little slower, but it's a lot more manageable for your typical person, right? So they're both going to take you to the same place. Both of them have their pros and challenges that needs to be addressed and watched out for. But both can take you to that same destination.
Absolutely. I love that. And talk to me a little bit, or let's talk a little bit for people who are, considering this, right? Talk to me a little bit. And again, we're going to get to healing after heartbreak. Don't worry. But we're getting there, and I think this is how you heal heartbreak, is to reconnect with yourself. But talk to me for a little bit between the differences between, like, let's say ayahuasca and psilocybin mushrooms. The way I have experienced them is I sat with ayahuasca first. So some people say, like, through fear and nervousness, obviously, which is okay, people will ask, well, should I do mushrooms first and then like graduate to ayahuasca, or, whatever the case may be. And it's going to call you the way it's going to call you, type of deal. The way I have experienced the medicine is mushrooms. It's like, picture all of your subconscious, deepest beliefs and mental hangups. In 3 to 4 hours being dealt with in a very profound way, more profound that I think, I'm not saying don't do therapy, but more profound than like 10 years of therapy. In like 3 to 4 hours, you're going to get to deal with them. And then the way I envision ayahuasca is, I mean, there's no ways you can describe
It's ineffable sometimes.
how profound this experience is, but it's more of like my heart and my soul and my and life and like the universal truth about who I am as a soul and who we are, and helping to heal all of that. How about for you?
Yeah, those are beautiful ways. And firstly, I just want to say, like, I just remembered how beautiful it is to have shared your first ayahuasca experience together,
Yeah.
and then your first mushroom experience together. I totally forgot about that.
Were you there too?
In Sedona?
Oh, that's right. Where we were laying down at the river.
Yeah, the river bend. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. So
Oh, that just gave me goosebumps.
yeah,
Dude.
it's just I just thought about that. I just wanted to
Yeah.
call that out. I think it's beautiful the way you said it. And I could add on to that by saying, yes, on one perspective, mushrooms, from a scientific standpoint, have less contraindications, which means the typical person maybe on SSRIs or antidepressants or dealing with just a lot is a good entryway into this medicine work before stepping into ayahuasca, right? The other way to think about it is the spirits behind them. So these indigenous folks like to say that the mushrooms are the spirit of the children, and ayahuasca is obviously the spirit of the grandmother. So you kind of just picture them, visualize the children. Okay, a lot could be really fun, could be really a lot of giggling and laughing, could be a lot of pure joy, innocence, perhaps even creativity as well. If you think about yourself in and when you were a young child and just kind of expressing yourself the most creative way, that's another way I see it. Whereas when you picture a grandmother, a stern but loving grandmother, that's Aya, right? And Aya by nature, as I've learned, is purgative by nature. So what that means is it's meant to relieve and release any stuck stuff inside of us, right? One of my teachers says, when the purge happens, ask the medicine what it is that you're trying to purge out and essentially let go of, so that the true inner self can be birthed, can be let out, can be expressed. And so those are other ways I see it, right? But overall, I would say is that mushrooms and psilocybin are great entry portals into exploring this medicine work. And I've seen it more and more, especially myself practicing it, being merged and utilized with creativity, especially in everyday life. And that's why we're seeing a lot of popularity with microdosing.
Microdosing, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas Aya, it's like, it's deep work time. There's a commitment before and after, especially the prep for the diet and the integration of really weaving in the learnings we took from this experience and the ceremony into our everyday life. There's more of a commitment to receive its full potency. So again, the mushrooms are a great entryway, kind of like dip your toes in, less contraindications, not as intense as Aya, so that, when you come back into everyday life, it's not as intense. Whereas Aya is like, okay, you're here to do some deep work. There's some blockage. There's something that needs to break through, but something is just not allowing that to. That's a perfect time to explore that medicine as well.
Hey guys, listen, one of the partners of today's episode is Athletic Greens. And I gave AG1 a try because I wanted something that helped boost my gut health, but also tasted great at the same time. Listen, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I take this stuff in the morning before starting my day, and it makes me feel like I'm giving my body the nutrition that it like craves. And I love giving my body what it needs, especially for someone that fasts all day. I've tried tons of different supplements out there, but this is different. This makes me feel like I'm putting really good stuff in my body, and that the ingredients are super high quality. And for both Jen and I, we're big fans and we use it daily. So anyone that's looking for a simple but high quality way to upgrade their health in 2023, this is it. AG1 by Athletic Greens. Go to athleticgreens.com/Danny, and they're giving you a free sample of their vitamin D for the entire year and 5 free travel packs. That's athleticgreens.com/Danny. Go there right now.
And that's why, again, I've done Aya in Costa Rica, in Colombia, here in the States, in Mexico, all over the world. But that's why, at least for me, when it's time for you to sit with Aya, I recommend go away. Like, go away and go be in nature and forget about this. Forget about all of this for a moment. And, some of my most beautiful memories have been in like Costa Rica and, journeying with the plants and and feeling so connected to like my brothers and sisters. And it truly is life changing because your eyes are open to what life really is. And so many people have said after their experience with ayahuasca, I literally don't want to do anything. I just want to like live in the forest with all of my friends and sing kumbaya, you know?
It happens.
It happens a lot and it's so true. And don't let your ego cause that to say something inside of you like, "Oh, I'm never going to want to work again." No, we obviously work. We're well functioning human beings. It just brings you back to the essence of who we are
Exactly.
in a
Exactly.
beautiful way.
And there's something just to add to that, where when you're saying about nature, ideally, yeah, in a beautiful natural setting, because the way I see it is, and I recommend this to people I support, is when they're going through a tough time or they're deep in the medicine, I say, go talk to nature, because nature is one of the most purest forms of God. So you go talk to God right in front of you with the plants, with the flowers, with the bees or insects and the trees. And I have experienced the spiritual essence come through nature when I'm deep in the medicine and I'm just talking to God through nature.
Yeah. And so have I.
Yeah.
For sure. So have I. So, I want to talk to you about heartbreak, which is, in many ways, when we experience heartbreak, whether it's through a relationship ending, whether it's through somebody we love passing away, it can be that event in our life that transforms us, And when I mention heartbreak to you, what comes up?
Yeah. I feel like there's layers of heartbreak I've experienced, and there was one deepest layer of heartbreak I've recently experienced just last year. And it was very potent in that it was someone that I met through the medicine work. It was someone who was the first person I decided that this was going to be the person I would spend the rest of my life with. So it crossed that threshold, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And did believe that this was going to be the mother of my future children, raise a family and everything like that. And the universe had it for me where everything came crumbling down. And it was what I perceive as one of my dark nights of the soul periods of my life, where I questioned everything. What am I here for in this lifetime? And even questioning the medicine, because I was like, well, medicine, like if I met her through this work and, how it all broken up and how we were separated, just like crushed my heart. Like, what's up? Why did this happen? I can say now, after looking back this past year, especially working with the medicine as well to go through that healing process, there's a couple things that very much emerge in this process of repurposing heartbreak. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. There's three things that really came up in my process of repurposing heartbreak. The first one was, this is my initiation into manhood. This is my turn to like really carry myself and hold myself and know that I got this. That bleeds into the second one, which was a deep, deep understanding of self-love. See, what's ironic is that in the program that I was in, we talk a lot about self-love, and after facilitating some of these sessions, I'm like, I think I know what self-love is. Until I go through this massive heartbreak that I'm like, oh, I've been totally abandoning myself. I've actually held back on speaking my truth for the sake of keeping peace, which means abandoning myself. I also pedestalize. I put someone else on a pedestal above me and forego my own needs to honor, what she may want, perceiving that as unconditional love, but always at the end of the day forgetting about myself. And the third thing that really came up was a redirection, a recommitment to this medicine path. Because I mentioned, I started questioning like, well, if I met her in this medicine work and this blew up in my face, then this medicine work probably isn't for me. But what was really, really powerful was 5 days after the breakup, I got a call from one of my friends who had opened up a medicine center called Reunion, which we'll talk a little bit more later.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned, my vision was always to step into a medicine campus or a campus of alternative healing. So I could not help but notice that 5 days after my breakup, I was invited to now step into the next layer of my purpose and mission in this lifetime, which was to help take everything I've learned in my misaligned business and pour it into this campus of alternative healing. And so what I can say overall is like the heartbreak, as you mentioned, is the ignition of a massive metamorphosis and transformation. And our responsibility, at least my responsibility as how I saw it, is what's the purpose of the heartbreak? What is it meant to spur? And I'm so grateful that it did in terms of igniting my stepping into my masculinity finally at 32. A deeper embodiment of loving myself, standing up for myself, speaking up for myself, setting boundaries for myself, and recommitting in a deeper level to this medicine path that I was ready to potentially walk away from.
You know what's so interesting to me? I can't help but notice how you converted something that was so hurtful to you into something that gave you something that you were looking for, which was a reconnection with your masculine energy, and on top of that, brought you to the vision that you always wanted. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, when you're unconscious, you feel like life is happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
And when life happens to you, essentially without you realizing it, you're kind of a victim to it,
Exactly.
right? You're not the creator of it.
Exactly.
And what the medicine does for you is it allows you to see that everything in life is happening for you. Even the things that are hurting you, even the things that have caused you heartbreak, there's a gift in it if you wish to see that gift. And so when you experience heartbreak, there truly are two paths. Number one, you could, if you choose, stay in the energy of being somewhat let down or being a victim of that heartbreak, and that will lead you in a certain direction in your path, in your path of life. Or number two, you could be conscious or aware that in all heartbreak, there is a gift. And that gift might hurt you, and that gift might push you into parts of yourself that you have never wanted to go. But if you have the courage to go there, then you will see that that gift is that it led you to the truest and highest version of who you are and who you are meant to be in this lifetime. And if there is any motivation at all for you to consider one day maybe sitting with the medicine, it is that level of consciousness. You have no idea the gift that you would be giving yourself when you no longer see things as poor me or as why did they do this to me? And quite frankly, the outcomes and the unnecessary levels of stress and inflammation that we live from when we live from that energy, and instead be able to come from a space, a conscious space where you realize, oh, wow, I called this into my life.
Exactly.
The future version of me called this into my life.
Totally.
So that I could become and transform into the truest and highest purpose of myself.
Well said.
If for any other reason, and if you hear anything on this episode, that transformation, that what I just gave you, it is absolutely life-changing, not just for you, but for anything that you create and give birth to, for the partner that you choose to attract, because now you're attracting from a different energy. and from your 6 or 7 closest relatives around you, because your energy now changes. You're no longer living in the vibration of fear and victimization. You're living in the vibration of co-creatorship and love.
Absolutely. And I just want to speak on what you mentioned of like, I called that in. Even though I didn't know consciously I called that in, my higher self called that in.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that was a rough training and initiation. I call it initiation to go through. But I do see it as that, because who I am today, wow, I feel so much. I feel so much stronger. I feel so much in my masculine centeredness.
Bro, you're physically stronger.
And that too.
Yeah.
And that transmuted
your
into
body.
Exactly. And the energy now that I create with is so much more like disciplined, focused. I know what I'm here to do. And it's just me and that end goal now to execute on. And so I'm grateful for the dark night of the soul. I'm grateful for the higher self calling in that initiation, because who I am now leveled up, oh, I'm so proud of. Not only proud of, but I love. I love myself of who I am today because of that initiation and pain and sorrow and grief that I went through.
Yeah, man. And don't you see, and I allude to this, in my quotes and my posts, so forth, and in my teachings. But when you get down to it, don't you see how when you step into that higher version of yourself, literally, people, literally, please hear me when I say this. The people that are not meant to be in your life and then that are not calibrating at that same energetic frequency, they just drop off.
Mm-hmm.
They drop off. And then the right people and relationships start to connect, and even opportunities in business, in life, in your career, in your purpose, it all just starts to align in a magical way. And this is where I say, like, your soul attracts to it everything that you've ever wanted and needed to be whole, happy, and complete. But you got to unravel some of the parts of you that are still stuck in fear.
Well said. And I'll say, I want to add to this as well, that one concept, one perspective really helped me through it all. And it's been learned a lot through my ceremony and medicine work. It's that to live life as a ceremony. So what that means, especially in this heartbreak journey initiation I went through, is that for those who haven't gone through it, what I can share is that in ceremony, a lot of us enter into it with fear because we love that aspect of control. And if anything veers us off from that, it triggers that fight or flight. And so we're like, oh my God, what the heck's going to happen? But over and over again, out of my 100+ ceremonies and seeing many hundreds of people go through their ceremonies, when they go through that ceremony, they go through that purge, they go through that fear, and they ask for guidance from something greater than their own minds. And they come out the other side like, I get it. I understand. Wow, I blocked myself and held myself down this whole time. My self-limiting beliefs and fears just totally held me down. It's to have that courage to move through it and realize that now you can apply that same perspective in everyday life. So when I was going through my heartbreak, I was like, I'm in a deep ceremony right now. But I know from all my ceremony work, there is the other side. I just need to sit in that fire right now, feel it all, process through it, ask for guidance, surrender, trust that this is trying to open up something greater. And the only way it won't is if I fall into that victimization mode and poor me and then go down that rabbit hole, right? And so my point is, like, what helped me through that repurposing of heartbreak was the reminder that every day is a ceremony, every moment is a ceremony, every challenge is part of a ceremony. And what we know and what we experience in our own ceremony work is that there is the other side. We just need to have the courage to sit in that fire and feel it all and move through it, because once you do, that beauty will emerge. The answers of the aha, I get it now, will emerge.
That's right.
And so, yeah, it's this going back to this creator mindset of like, sit with it and then allow the guidance and the messages to come through, and then use that understanding and create a new reality that is more empowering, more in alignment with this higher self.
And again, I want you guys to catch what he just said is that, Jen said it best to me once. She says, babe, like, I'm starting to realize that life gets really easy when you've been in ceremony because you go through all the hard shit in the ceremony. So then you realize that life is it's a piece of cake because it can't get any harder than you releasing all of the stuff that you released in the ceremony,
Right.
And then, just the awareness of that, man, just the awareness that you can go back to maybe if you're running a business, an employee left you or it didn't work out or, someone stole some money from you or, you're going through a bad breakup, whatever happens in life, you can go back to ceremony and realize, oh, wait a minute. Because time is infinite, right? And there really is no difference, right? You can go, wait a minute. It's a mirror. Both things are happening. And so I get to just be with this and understand that on the other side of this, there is a gift and there's something beautiful or a different version of me coming, right? But if you don't ever go through this, you see this as something completely different.
Exactly. And when you go through that, as you mentioned, then one will start to realize that everything is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So if everything is medicine, in other words, everything can be a lesson, and we choose to see it that way, then that enables the creator inside of us to be like, got it. I'm very humbled by this medicine and this lesson that I've received from XYZ challenge. I'm upgrading from that realization and understanding. And now asking myself this very empowering question, what am I going to do now? How am I going to step forward with this new understanding and this medicine integrated in me now?
Yeah. I want to bring something up that I know you have a lot of experience with, obviously way more than me. But one of my most beautiful moments in ceremony has been, as a man holding space for a woman. I can remember numerous times, holding, what once was a perfect stranger's hair, but is now my sister, that I am holding space for her while she purges, whatever it is that she needs to purge into a bucket and watching her life literally transform. It's so beautiful. So freaking beautiful, man. And then on top of that, I want to speak to this. I know we're not women, but one of the most profoundest changes that I see the medicine make, for example, in women and in men, is whenever a human being has been through some sort of sexual abuse, which is what I have never experienced, but I've experienced through my brothers and sisters who have experienced that. And it's so incredible to see them come out the other side as the victor of it. And almost to say there's something about it when a human being can truly get past that. I almost feel them stronger than most human beings or something, because it's if I could get past that, I can get past anything. And I've seen people, and it always comes through forgiveness.
Exactly. I was going to say that.
It always comes through forgiveness. And one of the quotes or one of the clips that I made was, I said, the way to heal is through forgiveness. And then what will always happen is that will trigger, obviously, both men and women who have been through sexual abuse. Rightfully so, because that is a deep, dark form of abuse. And yet there's always two sides to the comments that I see. It's for the ones that have not overcome that part of their journey, it's anger.
Exactly.
It's anger. How could you say that when when so-and-so happened to me, and I will never forget them. I will never let them go. And then for the people who have been able to surpass those feelings, it's an understanding. It's I never thought I would agree with something like this, but now I get it and I see it, and these are the people that are then able to go out and help other people.
Exactly.
Right? It's the same thing what you just said.
Repurposing.
It's a repurpose. You repurpose that trauma or that pain, and now you're able to help other people, and then it becomes a gift,
So beautiful, right? look, I haven't gone through a sexual abuse, and I'm grateful that I haven't been. And I have seen and witnessed people go through that process in ceremonies. What I can say is that what I've noticed is what Aya and mushrooms and these medicines do is open up a new perspective of what was happening. And in this case, one example of many is that the abuser was abused, right? This concept of hurt people. They were abused when they were young, and they may not have figured out or learned mature, calm ways to express what was inside of them. And so it took it out in the form of abuse. And so when the abusee realizes that and sees this other perspective that this plant medicine unlocks for them, then there's a deeper understanding. First, there's an understanding like, okay, like I see what happened here. And if they can see it in their hearts to forgive, then yes, that's that next step to forgive. And usually I see that's when the purge comes out too, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm letting this go. That anything that was even energetically stuck inside of me, like I said, I is a purgative medicine, so it'll let it go. And like you say, I think one of the most powerful ways to integrate that forgiveness is to repurpose it into a gift that then spreads that wisdom, that truth to others who are going through that same cycle, right? And that's sort of why I wanted to bring up this concept of the heartbreak, because now I can transmute it, I can alchemize it into a gift of truth, of wisdom for others to hear as I've gone through that cycle myself.
Versus staying stuck in it. Because we see so many beautiful human beings who have experienced heartbreak or let down by somebody of the opposite sex. And if they don't heal that, what tends to happen is they start attracting from that pain. And then they start to recreate that experience over and over and over again because they're attracting from that part of them that has been hurt.
Yeah, and I know that may trigger people when they hear that.
I know.
You know, I do agree that I said myself, I attracted that heartbreak, like subconsciously, like that higher self called that in so I can go through that lesson. And my perspective and my response to that is just like, well, you have two perspectives. You can stay in this dark rabbit hole and just pour me and, you know, do that. Or you literally have that powerful choice to be like, okay, I'm going to take responsibility of this. Where did I, you know, not be in alignment with myself and truth with myself that called this in? And then now what is the medicine? What is the learning out of this that now I can weave and integrate into my life to step into that next higher self?
Yeah. If you were to break down what you have been able to see, and you've dealt with some incredible CEOs all across the world who come and utilize plant medicines as a way to, you know, level up their life.
Yeah.
If you were to break down into words what you were able to see from people before and after the experience, what I mean, for someone with your experience, how would you be able to like share that?
Yeah. There's a couple things that come up. The first one is perception of success, where it was perceived first as a monopoly game to kind of build up as much cash and assets, and that's monopoly, right? To redefining success to alignment and fulfillment of what they enjoy in life and partaking and creating that now. So that's number one. Perception of success gets completely shifted. The second one I would say is the relationship with control and surrender. So obviously as entrepreneurs, we're really good at being on top of everything, making sure we're controlling everything so that it goes a certain way we expect it to be. Whereas Aya and these medicines, the operating system that it teaches is a state of surrender. And that may be defined as setting an intention and then letting go of the expectation of what is going to emerge, right? That's what we're in control of. What we're actually in control of is stating what our desired intent is and then putting energy into that, but realizing that that path will navigate in its own ways, however life may want it to be. So that's number two, like this different relationship with control and stepping into more of a state of embodying surrender, which means understanding and listening more, being in communion with something greater than our own minds. Perhaps it's spirit, perhaps it's the universe, perhaps it's nature. Tuning into that greater being out there that I now practice myself. Like I like to say that I weave as much surrender into my day-to-day, even perhaps business decisions, through prayer, through meditating in nature, through asking for guidance from something outside of my mind.
Mm.
Then the third one I can say is a deeper understanding of self-love as well. And it's the common story around where entrepreneurs, including myself, use business as a crutch to run away from the holes or the gaps that we may be feeling in life. And mine came from the divorce in my family, getting raised in without much guidance from masculine figures. So like I was like, well, the business is going to be my crutch now because that'll solve all my problems and make me look good and all that stuff. So this understanding of self-love, meaning like, can we be in full acceptance of who we are and love that version of ourselves? And part of loving ourselves is also envisioning who this next level, next layer, higher self looks like and embodies, and start to step into that. And that concept of self-love starts to be birthed with these CEOs who, quite frankly, may never have experienced that layer of love. It's very easy to externalize and send that love out, but now bring it inwards is a very foreign concept for many of these CEOs who experience the medicine.
For sure, man. For sure. And when it comes to what you're doing now with Reunion, first, why Reunion? Because I know you. You're someone that is, in high integrity with everything, with the medicine, with your purpose. Why Reunion?
Yeah. After my last business that I sold, I told myself anything I'm going to be creating or participating or joining forces with, it's got to be feeling from a place of peace. So I need to understand that that's my anchor and my directive in how I make decisions. So that's number one. And the second thing is I want to be intentional with everything. So there's got to be alignment. So why Reunion is a couple things. Firstly,
And what is Reunion?
Yeah. So first, what is Reunion then? Reunion is a not-for-profit plant medicine center located in Costa Rica, focusing on psilocybin and ayahuasca medicines in a very safe, therapeutic, trauma-informed setting with trained facilitators and in a beachfront kind of secluded area to give that safety, but nourished in nature. Okay. We opened up last year. And I met the founder in one of our ayahuasca experiences previously. And why I chose Reunion was that, firstly, the ethos as a not-for-profit isn't a marketing scheme more than it is an understanding that this plant medicine work isn't to be merged with any for-profit scheming, manipulative sales tactics. And so I love that ethos because I truly believe that this is a deep service work. And so aligning that with that ethos felt really aligned. The second one is also just my own alignment with what Reunion is, where I realized and I saw 5 years ago a vision of supporting a campus. And I thought it might be that I went to go create it. But when I met the owner at Reunion, the founder at Reunion, in a ceremony, I was like, medicine, like, are you trying to tell me something right now, right? Because it's, of course, if you're looking back, of course I would meet someone in ceremony doing this work together and realizing that his story, the owner and founder, had recently gone through years of his own medicine work and really came to a understanding that he wanted to leave his legacy by pouring his financial abundance that he received from his exit into a long-standing campus of alternative healing, in this case with medicine.
And you know what I love about it? What I love about it is that it's a beautiful location. It's on the beach.
There's modern comfort, as I say too.
Yeah, and I love that you can't rent it for a party. You
Correct.
can't, which means there's no alcohol in it. There's
Correct.
the energy of the place is pure,
It's sacred.
sacred.
Yeah.
It's only for medicine work.
Correct.
I love that.
Yeah, it's only for medicine work. And there are times where we forego short-term profits, even though we could rent it out to a wedding or a party, and we say no because our responsibility is to be stewards of this medicine, which means being a very clear and integral ambassador for this kind of work.
Yeah. And if I can say something, I've been doing this work now for 4 years. And, people always ask me, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Look, that puts me in a tough position. Puts me in a tough position because I was lucky enough to have found people like you to do this work with. And yeah, I do know that unfortunately it does exist out there where, I have heard stories where things don't go as well as they went for me, and so as a result, I've never wanted, people have asked me, can this, people have asked me like, can we use your name to put people on our resources, and then could you, and I'm just like, no, because there's very few people on this planet that I trust with their intention, with their energy, and their motive for why they do this work. You got to be very careful, guys. You got to be very careful because for a lot of people, the motive, even if they're wonderful human beings, the motive is to somehow be or fulfill a part of them that hasn't been healed or that has not been fulfilled. And so that energy shows up in your ceremony. Whereas like, I know why you do this and I know why Reunion does this. It has, and being that there's like no profit involved, I love as well. And the prices are so affordable.
Yeah, I want to say like what you mentioned, I call it the guru spotlight energy.
That.
Right? Because at the end of the day, what I always remind myself and everybody I work with is like, you're your own guru, you're your own shaman.
That's right.
You're your own medicine. What this work and myself and my role is to simply be, I think of it like a bowling alley analogy. I'm the bumper rails, so you don't go off the veer end. But all I'm here is to keep you safe and keep guiding you and keep redirecting your attention inwards, because all the answers are there. We just forgot about them to remember it finally, right?
That's what you did for me.
Thank you.
In my deepest, darkest moments. Do you remember?
That moment where you were like, we're in a suicide cult.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah. I know.
Great stories.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say very, very loudly and clearly is that I don't take that recommendation lightly, as you just mentioned. As I know you have a big following and people who really trust you. I want to speak from my heart that I take that recommendation at the utmost highest regard. And anybody who comes through you, happy to chat with. I'm happy to walk them through that process, answer any questions. And if those who feel called to step into this work, know that I'll be there with them side by side. Like that's my commitment that I want to make with you and your beautiful followers.
No, thank you. And that's why I know you're literally there. So it's like,
exactly.
It's like me being there without
as
me
an
being
extension.
there. That's what it feels like. So it feels safe. So how do people, book a retreat?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, so we have the opportunity to take intake calls, to have our discovery calls, to answer questions, really make sure that you feel in a place where you are ready to step into this work and feel committed.
Beautiful.
You can look at all of our information on our website at reunionexperience.org, reunionexperience.org again. And yeah, our team is there ready to answer questions. And again, I'll drop my IG and LinkedIn at the end of this episode so you guys can reach out and ask me questions as well, because really I see my responsibility as just an ambassador and steward of this medicine. I'm a human vessel that represents the potency of what this medicine work is all about, and I'm here for people who want to step into that.
I love that. And what are your IG and LinkedIn?
Yeah, so my IG is Tim Sae Koo, TimSaekoo. And then you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Same thing, Tim Sae Koo. Just add me, message me. Happy to answer any questions. Really see where you're at, and hold you through the process if you decide to come.
I love that. And we are starting a scholarship fund.
Yes.
So a certain percentage, when you go to the website and what's the code? Is it my name, Danny?
I think it's Danny Reunion.
Danny Reunion, or just Danny,
Just
whatever.
write Danny. Yeah.
They'll-
Just write Danny. And what we'll do is for every booking that comes through, we'll donate $100 to the Danny Morel Scholarship Fund at Reunion. And that gives you and the community opportunity to welcome others as people feel called to this work, to give them that scholarship so that they have accessibility. And that's really one of the core pillars for Reunion as well. Really, the key component is accessibility for those who are stuck in life, who feel down or just like something's off, and feeling called to the medicines with psilocybin or ayahuasca. Here is a safe, secluded in nature space in the beautiful nature abundant Costa Rica beachfront with modern comfort to feel safe so you can dive deep within yourself and ultimately understand a lot of what we've been talking about today as well.
For sure. And ultimately, I'm going to say, like, awaken your absolute highest self. It's beautiful, beautiful work. So
in possibly in this lifetime.
yeah,
right?
man.
And that's what is beautiful. Like, the sooner we can get to this awakening moment of our lives, the more we can create with so much power and strength and integrity and love and compassion. And so I really feel like that's what the role and duty of these medicines are. It's to help us remember and awaken to our greatest selves, our greatest potentials, and then create from that freedom, from that sovereignty.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you again.
And thank you for everything, Yeah.
It's always a pleasure, man. And thank you for allowing me to step into this again with you and really now come from the heart. And I feel at this moment just like so at peace. And that's always a great indicator of what we're creating here.
For sure, man. For sure. And if you felt called, or if anything from this episode resonated with you, this is not me with you. This is you with you. Listen into your heart, listen into, maybe go into prayer, go into meditation and just ask. And if you feel a calling, I have never in my life put my name behind something like this, but I finally feel comfortable enough doing that. And go to Reunion, go to reunionexperience.org, book a retreat. They have several different retreats, some with psilocybin, some with ayahuasca, and get ready. Many of you are already starting to go, and you're messaging us, and I'm already starting to see the work that you're doing. So I'm really happy for that. And I can't wait to honestly see thousands and hundreds of thousands of you end up at Reunion.
And please come find me. Please come talk to me. I would love to welcome you and assure you that you're in a beautiful, safe space to dive deep within yourself.
For sure. Absolutely. That's this week's episode of The Higher Self. We will see you next week. Thanks for watching this week's episode of The Higher Self. If you heard something in this week's episode that caused you to think maybe, just maybe, there was a higher potential for your life, maybe there was a potential to earn and receive financial freedom, to attract the relationship of your dreams, or to improve your health, that's what we specialize in. We help wonderful human beings like yourself to unravel all of the limiting thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you've been living through so that you can finally tap into your life's truest potential. If you'd like to talk more about that, we invite you to join us on Instagram or Facebook and email us the word discover more. And when my team sees that, they will reach out to you, send you the details of how we could help you on your pathway to a life of abundance, fulfillment, and creating the absolute life of your dreams. Message us right now the words discover more now on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll see you soon.